recommend him to carry on that.
Do we have a mover and a seconder for Member Hill's nomination?
Could I so move for that or somebody else?
Yep, so moved by
I
Member
can second it.
Matthews. Sorry, was that Member Prodko? Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to read the resolution. So moved by Member Matthews, seconded by Member Predko, be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment appoint Tom Hill as the chair. All those in favor? And the motion is carried. Tom, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. Because we're doing this hybrid meeting and I wasn't sure who was going to be appointed, I'm just going to email you our script and our resolutions now. So it'll just be a brief moment, okay?
Thank you.
I really missed that one. I guess you can minimize this and put on the other.
Chair Hill, did you receive the script and resolutions?
Not as yet. Okay. Okay, just one moment.
Well, that is actually one of the advantages of Zoom now. People, particularly if they're coming up from the city or Niagara Falls or something, right?
Okay. We are in business. So, as you say, it's a bit of a hybrid meeting. I was not expecting we would be working in this format, but we will proceed. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the meeting on January the 20th. This morning, there is a public meeting scheduled for one consent and one minor variance application. I will briefly summarize the procedure to be utilized for the meeting. First, the Secretary Treasurer will advise the committee as to when, how, and to whom notice of each of the hearings was circulated for the applications being considered. Next, each of the applications will be considered separately. Planning staff will advise of the purpose and effect of the applications and provide any other information that is relevant. The Secretary Treasurer will summarize any correspondence on file, and from there, the applicant would make a brief presentation if they so choose. And the public will have an opportunity to speak to the applications being considered. After the public forum, the committee will then deliberate on the proposed applications and consider a motion to pass, defeat, or defer the decision for the applications. The consent application being considered this morning is B22-21 for 92 Trans-Canada Bay Road. The minor variance application being considered this morning is A21-19 for Echo Bay Road. Before we begin, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. The next is we have a motion to adopt the minutes of our previous meeting, and I expect everyone's had those minutes distributed and had a chance to review them. Are there any questions or concerns before we adopt the minutes? Very well, seeing none.
I was not. I am a new member. I won't be speaking to the minutes. I wasn't at the last meeting.
Thank you, Member Ruth. And I have another motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Sorry, Chair Hill, we'll just need a mover and a seconder on that resolution, please.
Yeah, I'm just working this. I've got two separate documents and only one screen. So let me just go and see if I
would so move that motion. Whatever it was. Madam Secretary.
Okay.
Seeing as that we only had 3 here that were part of the committee last time, what do we do about minute approval? Is that
So according to Robert's Rules of Order, you do not have to be present at the meeting to vote on minutes of a previous meeting. So there shouldn't be any issues with a mover and a seconder.
okay?
Okay. So it is moved by Member Matthews. And do I have a second? A second by Member Jarvis. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment approves the minutes of October 14, 2022 as circulated. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. The motion is carried. Okay. Madam Secretary, could you please describe how the notices were distributed?
Notice of each application was sent by first-class mail to the respective owners.
Sorry, you're muted according to this.
I don't have to unmute on Zoom.
Your speaker's still crossed.
It's just the microphone, sorry.
Okay, so
No worries. Okay, so I'm just gonna start over. The notice of each of the application was sent by first-class mail to the respective owners and assessed persons within 120 meters, 500 meters, or 800 meters, or to those persons and agencies likely to have an interest in the application. The notices were sent at least 20 days prior to this morning's meeting. Included in each notice was an explanation of the purpose and effect of the application and a key map showing the location of the property. Other relevant information may have been provided. These circulations were provided in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act 1990.
Okay, thank you very much. Our first application this morning is a consent application number B22-21 for 92 Trans-Canada Bay Road. to the planner, please.
Hello, good morning, Chair Hill and members of committee. My name is Jen Cadet. I'm a planner with JL Richards, and we are the township's planning consultants. I'll share my screen. I believe I need permissions to share my screen.
You should be okay now.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Can everybody see the B2221 page? Awesome, thank you. So I'll be presenting consent application B2221 Jarvis on behalf of my colleague Aaron Reed. Subject property is municipally known as 92 Trans-Canada Bay Road, and the proposed application would permit approximately 260 square meters of land to transfer from 92 Trans-Canada Bay Road to 74 Trans-Canada Bay Road, which is the adjacent property. And the area proposed to be transferred includes a driveway and a parking area for 74 Trans-Canada Bay Road, as well as a portion of a accessory structure. In this attached map, you can see Trans-Canada Bay Road here. This is 92, this is 74, and it's a portion here that is proposed to transfer from 92 to 74. Here you can see on a little sketch, it's approximately this blue triangular parcel or portion that would be transferred to the benefiting lands. And here's a survey which illustrates it a little more clearly. You can see part 2 here has a portion of a private driveway, and there is a accessory structure that currently is located on the subject property line, and it would, if this application were successful, this triangular portion would be transferred to the adjacent neighbor, which would make sure that this building is completely on that separate parcel. The site is within the rural lands of the provincial policy statement, and it is within the waterfront area in the district and township official plans. And it's additionally within the 6 Mile Lake Inland Waterfront Community, and it is zoned SR6, which is the 6 Mile Lake zone. Proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to the district and township official plans. Township staff are recommending approval of the application on the basis that it's consistent with the PPS, conforms to the district and municipal official plans, and maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Listed on this slide are all the conditions that the township is recommending, and that carries over onto this slide as well. I won't read them out loud for you as they're all in the report, but if you have any questions, I'm here to answer some questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gadet. Madam Secretary, has there been any correspondence on this application?
6 letters of support were received from Chris and Dean Ponzo, Jim and Lena Partington, John Kelly, Peter Stewart, Dave and Jill Kiss, Kathy House, John Ovens, and Christian Graziano.
Thank you. I don't see any. Is the applicant present and wishes to speak on about this application?
Chair Hill, the applicant's actually here in present. So if you could just turn your mic on and state your name for the record, please.
Pat Van de Bosport.
Okay. Did you get that name, Madam Secretary?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Is there anything that you wish to add to the comments of the planner?
Well, first, that we're honored to be the very first of this new committee and the first on the agenda for 23. So well done so far. Hopefully you're picking an easy one to start with. No, it's pretty straightforward. It's a very small parcel of land. When I purchased this property, from the beginning, it was evident that the driveway was a bit of an unfortunate bit of surveying many years ago. And this sorts it out very nicely, squares off the property. Gary and I are good neighbors for 10 years and work together to hopefully make this successful. Are there any questions that I can help anyone with?
Well, we'll find that out when we bring the application before the committee. Are there any members of the public present that wish to add comment on this application? We have any, Sydney?
There doesn't appear to be any other members present.
Okay, thank you. Then with that, I'll close the public session portion of the session and bring the application before the committee for any questions or comments. And we'll begin with Member Jarvis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see everybody again, and welcome to the new members. I just want to confirm something. Gary Jarvis and I, to my knowledge, are not related, just in case there's any wondering about that. As a matter of fact, maybe it's up for discussion between Gary and I to find out if maybe we are related, but I've never met Gary before.
I know of.
There he is. I just have one question for the planner. This is listed as a consent application. I'm curious to know, why are we listening to this as a consent application? That's just point of clarity on my part.
Because it's a lot addition, which is, so technically you are severing a portion of one to add it to the other.
Got it. Okay, and Gary Jarvis is the one who will be benefiting from this. You will be benefiting. Got it. It's Gary Jarvis's land. Okay. And then one other question to our planner, Jen. So part two has already been dealt with. It's part one we're dealing with here.
My understanding is that both parts 1 and 2 would be transferred.
Okay, that's all the clarity I needed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Member Jarvis. Member Matthews. And you're muted, Member Matthews. I guess, is your microphone on, Dave? You're on mute. Hello, Dave. You're on mute. Okay, Sydney, perhaps you could send him a text or something, let him know that. And in the meantime, we'll move on to Member Predco, please.
Chair Hill, I can hear you. I believe Councillor Predco messaged that he was having some internet troubles.
Okay, then we'll move on to Member Rivet. Can you hear me, Louise?
Oh, Chair Hill, I'm receiving messages from Mercia that they can't hear us because we're frozen for them.
Okay, it's working fine on my end. I can see everybody moving and see that.
Me as well. It's the township's internet that's frozen. I'll put in the chat.
It's just the audio. I can see people moving. It's just that we can't hear them.
I think we need a written response. Now I can hear you fine, Jen.
Yes, I can hear you. Chair Hill and Councillor Pretco. Oh.
Well, I can hear David now.
Yeah.
And I see that there's a number of others that are still on mute. I'm wondering if the township system is causing that.
It's the way the township system works, that one window that says Georgian Bay Township is the only one that's unmuted. Everybody's desk microphones go through that one connection. So that's probably where the problem lies.
Okay. So we have a window showing the township of Georgian Bay now.
I'm getting messages from Mercia that the IT technician at the township is working on things.
Okay, then we can chat among ourselves. It's down to you and I, Jen.
Oh, we should start
Yeah.
playing Snowfish or something.
Oh.
I've got a bit of a cold, so I hope it's not coming through too strong.
That's one thing you're very careful about saying these days is if you've got a cold, you kind of keep that to yourself.
I know. I wish my kids kept their germs to themselves instead of bringing every plague home from daycare.
That's just a stage of life that you need to go through. We have 7 grandchildren and they've all been through that and they bring everything home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch how they interact at daycare, you'll understand completely why that happens.
Yeah. I think Sydney
is back.
Okay, we hear Member Predco.
Yeah, but I'm not in the council chamber either, so that's why you can hear me.
Okay, somebody was mentioning just a minute ago that the township system is the cause.
Yep, no, that was me, but I'm not in the township today. I've got my background looks like I'm there, but I'm actually remoting in.
From Florida?
Mexico, actually. Hopefully they couldn't hear that. You don't want to see the real background.
No. Mind you, we have yet to have winter weather.
Tom, we can hear you, but you can't hear us.
Oh, we can hear you now.
I was doing that through Zoom, not through the system at the township.
Oh, okay.
This will be an interesting live stream for someone to be watching.
Yeah, I think they've turned off recording though, so.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
We can hear those, but most people are still muted.
Test, test. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I think we're back up and running.
Okay, then we have comments from Member Jarvis. Our next member would be Member Matthews. And David, I noticed that you're muted.
Mr. Chill, apparently, Mr. Hill, that's supposed to be the way. And then I put the mic on here in the council chamber. Can you hear me?
I can.
Then I will take the opportunity at your pleasure to repeat my question to Ms. Cadet. Just the building that was sort of severed by the original lot line, which is now going to be on to 74, I believe it is. Will that meet the side yard and backyard setbacks now?
Through you, Chair Hill, to Member Matthews, we have asked for that information, and one of the conditions is that if it doesn't meet the required side yard setback, that a variance be obtained.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Matthews. Member Predko.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. A very quick question. In the letters from the residents in support of the application, there was some mention of a phase 2. I know we're not considering phase 2 at this time, but I'm wondering if you can provide some color on what you're planning to do in the long term. I'm assuming that the small building that you have there may be removed and made for or used for access to a boathouse. And I'm just curious if there's any details that could provide light on the severance. Thank you.
That question was to Ms. Godet.
Actually, it would be the applicant that I'm inquiring to.
Pat, I believe that would be a question you could answer.
Sorry. I don't recall a reference to a phase 2, but if there is one, there is no phase 2. There's no plan to develop or propose to develop that area at all.
Okay, thank you. I must have misread the letters then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Predko. Member Rivet, please.
I have no concerns with the application and the consent as it's presented.
Thank you. Member Schmidt.
Thank you. I am familiar with the property, and it looks to me like this is a solution for a long-term problem, and support it.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no further questions or concerns, I will read the resolution. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment hereby grants provisional approval to consent application B22-21 for a lot addition subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner pay the balance of any outstanding taxes as of the date of certification of the transfer deed with respect to the property that is subject to the application shall be made to the treasurer of the Township of Georgian Bay. 2, that the owner enter an agreement with the township if deemed necessary by the township to satisfy all the requirements, financial or otherwise, of the township, which may include, but not limited to, the provision of parkland or cash in lieu of land, roads, insulation of services, facilities, drainage, and the timing and payment of a development charge. 3, that the clerk of the township provide written confirmation that a minor variance is in force and effect, recognizing the undersized nature of the retained lands and any other deficiencies noted by an Ontario land surveyor. 4, that a reference plan that is registered be completed and a digital copy and a hard copy be filed with the Township Planning Department, or an exception from the reference plan be received from the registrar. 5, pursuant to Section 53, subsection 42 of the Planning Act, the certificate of consent be affixed to the deed within 2 years of the giving of notice of decision. Note that Section 53, subsection 42 of the Planning Act requires that the transaction approved by this consent must be carried out within 2 years of the issuance of the certificate, i.e. stamping of the deed. 6, that the application is for a lot addition only, and that the lands to be severed being part 1 and part 2 on 35R 26.04 as shown in the attached schedule be merged under the same ownership as the abutting lands, Baxter Concession 10 and 11, part lot 22, road allowance registration 35R 228040, parts 1 and 2 and 4, 74 Trans-Canada Bay Road, and that subsection 3 or 5 of section 50 of the Planning Act apply to the subsequent conveyance. The lawyer shall provide an undertaking to consolidate the pins for the property parcels upon registration of the consents. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried. Our next application is minor variance application number A22-19 for 226 Echo Bay Road. To the planner, please. Ms. Godette, we are unable to hear you. I'm not sure if you are muted or if there's further technical problems that we need to deal with.
Let's try now that I've unmuted myself.
That is a good move. Well done.
Oh, you'd think after 3 years, we'd know how this works, eh? Okay, apologies. Is my screen
No.
sharing?
It is.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Again, I'm here to present application A2219 Wrycraft on behalf of my colleague, Alyssa Alexander. The applicants are John and Sandra Wrycraft, and the address of the subject property is 226 Echo Bay Road, which is located on 6 Mile Lake. The purpose of the application is to construct a new dock and boathouse, which requires relief from the maximum projection of dock provision of the zoning bylaw. 10 meters is required, and proposed is 12.7 meters, as well as the maximum cumulative width of a dock. And they're proposing 19.6 meters, whereas 13.7 is permitted. Subject property is generally located on the southern shore of the 6 Mile Lake and municipally addressed as 226 Echo Bay Road. It can be accessed from the lake as well as from the road. Subject property is rectangular with an area of approximately 0.63 hectares and a frontage of 91 meters along the shore. It has a legally existing seasonal dwelling, a detached garage, privately serviced, has a sleeping cabin and a ramp from the previous dock that has since been removed. In this clip from the survey, you can see the existing cottage, which is in red with the blue. Blue is just showing you the deck and the sleeping cabin. And this green hatching here is what's proposed. Here are 3D views of the dock and boathouse. And you can see this would be view 4 is approximately the view from the water. These are site photos taken by township staff in December. You can see the topography is quite steep and it's quite rocky. And here you can see an existing dock. It's quite a shallow area at the front, which is why they're requesting to project further into the water body. So the site is designated rural lands in the provincial policy statement. It's within the waterfront area in the district and township official plans, and it's additionally within the 6 Mile Lake inland waterfront community, and it is zoned accordingly, just SR6. And again, they're requesting a maximum projection increase of 2.7 meters and a maximum cumulative width increase of approximately 3 meters. So there are 4 tests for a minor variance. Planning staff are of the opinion that it meets all 4. The first test is appropriate and desirable development. Staff are of the opinion that it is appropriate and desirable. Boathouses are a permitted use and are often seen within the waterfront area. And despite the requested variances, this proposed boathouse would be very much in keeping with the surrounding area. We believe it is also minor in nature. There's no change to the existing structures or vegetation on the site. It conforms to the intent and purpose of the official plan. As stated before, there's no development or changes proposed on the actual inland portion of the property. And there, as a result, there's no anticipated visual or environmental impacts. It is type 2 fish habitat in this portion and meets the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. So generally, these provisions are in place to ensure that docks are constrained from impacting navigation by going too far into the lake, and that impacts to fish habitat and vegetation is limited by the cumulative width. And staff believe that the proposed variances meet those intentions. And as a result, we are recommending approval of the application. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gadet. Madam Secretary, has there been any correspondence on this application?
14 letters of support were received from Bo and Stacy Sinarovic, Brad Warren, Dan Orchard, Brandon and Denise McMillan, Dr. Jeremy and Jane Brown, Jim and Rhonda Locke, Joseph Raymond Budnick, Julia Manning, Christian Graziano, Scott and Kristen Rogers, Lynn and Doug Forham, Peter Olar, Sandy and Brian McCory, and Tom and Martha Wright.
Thank you. Is the applicant present and would like to add to the planner's comments?
We're here. Sorry, we did not understand that we could be in person today. So we are actually away for a couple of days celebrating John's 50th. So this would be a great birthday present for him to get this.
Way to go, John.
I just wanted to thank the planners. I think they did a really good job of the report. I know it's been handed off a couple of times, so just wanted to say thank you. It was a really extensive, thorough report. We were super appreciative of that. And also just thank this committee for the time and also to be able to join virtually. John in particular, myself quite a bit, but John's been coming to the lake for 40 years. His sister owns on the lake. We're able to finally buy a property there about 6 years ago. We are stewards of the land. We're good neighbors, and we're just trying to solve for some docking and storage issues. So really appreciate the consideration this morning.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public present? We've lost Madam Secretary.
How many members present?
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing that, I'll close the public session of the meeting and bring the application before the committee for any questions or concerns. And we'll begin with Member Predko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess the first question I have really is around, and I know you're overcoming shallow water close to the shoreline, and that's one of the major concerns you have for the depth that you're going into the channel. But you're going over both the width and the depth, and I would just like to, note that together that makes about a 50% increase over the prescribed allowances. And what I would just like to ask is either to Ms. Godet or to the applicants, if the Committee of Adjustment didn't allow this application to go forward, what hardships would you experience by having to come back again? Is there an opportunity to redesign, or is this the best option that we have at this moment for the committee to consider?
Ms. Godet, I can speak to that if you want. We've been 18 months in the process working with various planners. We had support for something that even had a slip and a half to be able to accommodate our Sea-Doo inside as well. We decided to forego that and keep our Sea-Doo storage outside in order to create a bit of room inside. Given the topography, there's about a 60-foot elevation from our dock to the top of the hill. Our garage is about 150 feet from there. So by creating a bit of, sorry, we're getting a call, just muted on there, coming in through this computer, sorry. Sorry about that. The width inside the boathouse, instead of going with a 15-foot door, we went back to a 10-foot door, but we wanted to get a bit of storage inside because it's really hard to get our stuff up and down, and our dock seems to be incredibly cluttered all the time with a couple of kayaks, a stand-up board, a tube, some chairs. So having a couple of extra feet inside would enable us to shove that inside and close the door, which I think declutters our waterfront. But that added to the cumulative width by a couple of feet. And the projection, I don't think is clear from the photos, but our lot frontage is not linear. So right where you see the existing dock kind of floating in the picture, because it's taken in for the winter, right beside where we go to build the boathouse, it goes on a 45-degree angle where the rock projects. So we wouldn't be going for a projection variance if we could build it straight, but because we have to build it on an angle, it causes the front right point to project further than the front left point.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarifications.
Okay. Anything further, Member Predko?
No, thanks. That's all for me.
Thank you very much. Member Jarvis, please.
Thank you. I had some concerns. I've already voiced these with the planning department. Our bylaws indicate that 10 meters is required maximum for length, and width maximum is 13.7 meters. I presume our bylaw is in place to allow for acceptable use of a dock, and I'm having trouble understanding why this dock can't meet the requirements set out by our bylaws. And I'm wondering if planning department, I guess, Jen, you could address that, because in my mind, if we've got 10 meters proposed maximum projection, and we got a proposed cumulative width of 13.7 meters, if that's adequate within our bylaws, why should not anybody building a dock work within the bylaws we've got? Or conversely, do we need to have a look at our bylaws and adjust them accordingly?
Thank you, Member Jarvis. Through you, Chair Hill. I believe Mrs. Wrycraft responded to that with, I can share the screen again, but it's on an angle because of
I now better understand the projection, so maybe that's not so much of an issue, but the width is something that you can address if you don't mind.
Yeah, so they're building a dock with a boathouse attached, and I believe that the cumulative width is a function of boat storage. But if the Wrycrafts could chime in, we don't, as we don't design them, it's a bit hard for me to speculate. So if it's okay with you, Councillor Jarvis, I'll. Sure. Thank you.
Same comment. I think instead of going with a wider door to be able to accommodate our boat and our Sea-Doo inside, we just wanted a couple of extra feet interior of the boathouse to be able to put storage inside for things that sit all over the dock today. So we could just slide them in. So I think I don't have that drawing. It wasn't part of the presentation today, but I think on one side it's 4 or 5 feet that is inside before the exterior door. And that is adding to the cumulative width so that we have enough storage space that it's not just pull in the boat and have enough space to walk around the side of it. That given the immense cost of building boathouses, to have the couple of extra feet to be able to add that storage was extremely important for us. And I think a lot of people talk about the view from the canoe. And I think being able to slide all that stuff in and close the door will make it much less decluttered from all that sits all over our dock today.
Appreciate the explanation. One other question, if it's okay with our chair, and that would be with regards to lot coverage. I see there's another building on the property in the overhead, the Google pic or the aerial shot. It looks like a garage. So when you combine the garage, I think that's what it is, with the sleeping cabin, the cottage, does the boathouse affect lot coverage? And if so, what's the net lot coverage as a percentage, I believe, is what's allowed within the 6 Mile Lake plan.
Councillor Jarvis, I apologize. I'll just need a few minutes to look that up for you.
Sure.
I do know that it was considered, and they also asked us for the first 60 feet from the water, what that calculation was as well. And I know at the time it satisfied all of the requirements, but to be able to do the total and the subtraction, I'll leave that to Ms. Gaudette.
Yeah, I do
Okay,
have,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Gaudette, if you have that.
the lot coverage is 6.23% currently, and it's proposed to go up to 7.57%.
And what's the allowance for lot coverage in the 6 Mile Lake area?
I believe it's 10%.
10%. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Member Jarvis. Member Rivet, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the planner. My understanding is SR6 is 8% coverage. And I understood that with the minor variance on the dwelling in 2016, plus the garage and the sleeping cabin, they're just about over 7.3%. And with 8%, I don't know, this is with your presentation, it's the first time I've seen the proposed design for the boathouse. So I just wanted to know what the size of the boathouse is and whether it will bring them into the maximum 8%.
Through you, Chair Hill, to Member Rivet. Thanks for that correction. I did just look it up. It is 8%, so you're correct. All these bylaws, it's hard to always keep them straight. So I appreciate the correction. So I have the proposed lot coverage within 60 meters of the high water mark. So you'll remember, apologize, I'm getting a call here. 6 Mile Lake has different methods of calculating lot coverage. So within the first 60 meters, it's 7.57% proposed. Does that?
Is that with the boathouse?
Yes. Yeah. So that's proposed. So currently they're at 6.23. If this application were successful and they were to build the boathouse, it would be 7.57.
Could you, okay, I understood it was higher. I saw prior calculations that it was over 7%. The house was over 3,300. What's the footprint of the house? Plus the garage is another 1,500 plus the sleeping cabin.
I'm looking at the surveyor's calculations. This was
what the survey that's pardon me, the survey that's included with the application is from 2016 prior to the house. This is the proposed house, and this is their garage isn't on this survey. So is this a survey they're looking at to calculate the maximum?
perhaps it's easier if I share my screen. Let me know if you can see this, Councillor or member. Apologies.
Yes,
So
we can see it.
this is the survey that was submitted with the application. You can see, and I'll zoom here. Oh, sorry, this is. I always hit the wrong button here. Okay, here's the existing garage, which is this red here. Existing dwelling. Existing cabin, if we follow it, goes over here. And here's the proposed dock. And the calculations that were provided by the surveyor, existing lot coverage, 6.23, proposed lot coverage, 7.57. So I believe that it includes these structures. Does that answer your question?
It's a little more helpful. It would have been helpful if we had the same drawing that you're looking at. We didn't get that in our package. So my survey is not complete. I'm not looking at that one that you have.
Apologies, we can make sure you receive the full survey in the future.
Be helpful, yes.
I do know it was one of the questions asked at the time, and we assured that we were under our lot coverages.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything further, Member Rivet?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Member Schmidt, please.
Certainly respect the amount of time and effort that's been put into this application by planning staff and the Wrycraft family. Again, I'm familiar with that property. I've been by there a number of times by boat. Note the topography and the requirement of, the angle and what have you that's there. So I think they were able to fit a square peg in a round hole that seems to be supported by all the neighbors, including the ones that are in direct view that would be affected the most. So I would support this.
Thank you very much. Member Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question, I guess, and a comment. The projection of the new proposed dock / boathouse, will it be greater than the existing dock that you're currently using?
I can answer part of that, and maybe Ms. Gaudette, you can help me. Where the current dock is, that existing dock would basically, the same perimeter will be replaced with a piled dock. And then from that point, it goes on this like 45-degree angle. So the existing dock will be replaced with what will be attached to the boathouse that then goes to the right. And that's why it projects, because the photo doesn't show it very well, but where that goes out straight, we then go on a 45 with the balance of the boathouse. So that will stick out according to the change in the lot.
So where you see so where you see the far left side is basically where the existing dock goes out now. Okay. That will actually go out less then. But when you go over to the far right side, it will be out. Obviously, there isn't one there now, but it will be out further.
Right. Okay. And I we're on an island, I appreciate the undulations of shoreline. It's difficult to get a dock and boathouse that works. I was initially concerned somewhat about the width, but I think the explanation. I was there this morning, and yes, I would not want to be dragging sea-doos and kayaks up the hill. It's a long way up, so I think a little bit of leeway here to get things nicely tucked away would be in order.
Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions or comments, I will read the resolution. Member Jarvis.
I apologize, Councillor. I just noticed in the survey another dock. Is that dock proposed to be removed, or is it still there? It's
already gone.
Drawing it to the left.
It's already gone. It was just part of this survey from 2016, so it was left on there, but it's been removed for some time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I will read the resolution. Moved by Member Matthews, seconded by Member Schmidt. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment receives Development Services Report 2023-04 and recommends approval of the minor variance application A22-19 to zoning bylaw 2014-75 as amended for 226 Echo Bay Road to permit the construction of a new dock and boathouse with the following conditions. 1, that municipal taxes are paid to date. 2, that approval of this variance is granted and fixed to the subject concept plan, extent, location, scale, and use contemplated in the application. And 3, that approval of this variance expires 3 years from the date of decision if building permits have not been issued for the approved structure. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried and the application is approved.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. And with that, we have one more resolution. And be it, it is moved by Member Revitt, seconded by Member Jarvis. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment does now adjourn at 11 a.m. until February 17th, 2023 at 10 a.m. or at the call of the chair. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.